In a recent interview, GameFreak has revealed exactly the reason behind why good features are removed from the Pokémon games. Let's get right into it. When it comes to fans attempting to characterize the main series Pokémon games, there's one term that I often see used: one step forward, two steps back. It seems that almost every generation, GameFreak will take a massive leap forward with something in its new games, but it will leave good things behind. Take Gen 8 with the upcoming Sword and Shield games, for example. In recent trailers, we've had a couple cool looking features. The Wild area, for instance, allows us an opportunity to explore a relatively open world area to encounter overworld Pokémon with the option of still pursuing traditional encounters in grass or other routes. Or the new Gigantamax feature, where Pokémon not only grow to insane sizes, but also have pretty slick design changes as well. But of course, on the other hand, there are loved features that are removed. Perhaps most prominently in this generation, the Pokémon themselves, with the ability to transfer many Pokémon from past games having been taken away, and the complete removal of Mega Evolutions as a whole. Observing things like the Wild area and Gigantamaxing, I get a tinge of excitement, but it quickly disappears because I know that these things have been added at the expense of other things like the National Dex and Mega Evolutions. These are new things that they put time and effort into instead of including the Pokémon themselves. The thing is, this phenomenon isn't exactly a new thing, although the removal of the National Dex and many Pokémon is likely the most significant feature removal of all time, if you can even call it that. At various points throughout the main series, we've had awesome features removed, and admittedly some have come back again, albeit very briefly. Looking back as early as Gen 2, we had the day and night cycle that disappeared, even though it's a relatively easy feature to add in and allows for a new aesthetic, a real-world feeling, and distinct nighttime Pokémon spawns that make things feel more realistic. From Gen 3, we lost the Mach and Acrobike distinction, which allowed for the completion of different puzzles that required the strategic use of each, and heck, it was a lot of fun, as well as secret bases and the Battle Frontier from Emerald. And there are just so many other features from across the series that have either come and gone throughout the series or were removed entirely. From contests to Pokeball customization, seasons, the PSS, arguably the greatest Pokemon multiplayer interface of all time, challenge mode, hordes, Dex Nav, soaring, Pokemon following you, I could go on and on forever. So why, GameFreak, why are we losing great features in each generation when they could be kept as core elements that all fans want? Well, it turns out that we've finally gotten an answer from them. A media outlet was actually brave enough to ask them the question. In an interview with Shigeru Omori, who is the official director for Pokémon Sword and Shield, Game Central first asks, "We've been looking at the reactions online and everyone seems very keen, except there is concern that new features get added to Pokémon each time, and whether they're well received or not, they seem to disappear for the next iteration for no obvious reason. Is Dynamax something that's going to stick around forever?" Omori responds to this by saying, "At Game Freak, it really just comes from our desire to surprise the players with new gameplay. Not to do the exact same thing every time, but have a new twist on something that keeps people surprised and enjoying the new style of gameplay." So here, I love the phrasing that Game Central used. There is concern that new features get added to Pokemon each time, and whether they're well received or not, they disappear for the next iteration for no obvious reason. This kind of really nails the point that I've been talking about. In response, Omori has essentially said that the process comes from their desire to surprise the players with new gameplay. The unfortunate part about this kind of recycling of old features is, yes, you can surprise the players with something new, but you can also surprise them by removing something that they loved, and that is not a good surprise. In each Pokemon game, I'd be willing to say that many fans aren't necessarily excited about new features. We're more focused on new Pokemon, characters, the region, the story, etc. In terms of features, it's almost like we're instead just held in suspense about what is or is not going to be removed, since we all have features that we already love from the series and would just love to see them be built upon. And that's the thing. Omori has said that they're concerned about not doing the exact same thing every time, but there are ways to retain the fan favorite features but update them to make them better or expand upon them. That way you can add new things in that provide that new style of gameplay instead of removing and or replacing the features that fans like and want to see back in the game, even if we've seen them before. But let's keep reading from the interview. Game Central next says, if a feature has been removed, things like the Versus Seeker, Battle Frontier, and so on, is there still a chance they might come back in the future even if it's not for this one? To which Omori responds, I think if by bringing it back it would be a surprise in itself or be a new take on the formula, I think you might see some things like that happen. For example, in this game, the bike is back, which was gone for a while. In Sun and Moon, you could ride on the back of certain Pokemon to get around, but we felt with the wild area being so large, we wanted to take a look at what would be the best way to get players around and very smoothly without too much trouble. So we brought back the bike, but we also changed it a little bit so now you can go seamlessly over water, and we added new things to feel like it's a surprise again. And here's where the distinction needs to be made. I don't think a feature's return needs to be a surprise in itself or a new take on the formula. It's just something that fans have grown to love because it makes sense in a Pokemon game. The day and night feature, for instance, should be a staple. Presumably, every region has daytime and nighttime, and it adds a great aesthetic and Pokemon variety mechanic. The PSS is the greatest multiplayer interface we've ever had, yet that has been pretty much entirely scrapped for some brand new Festival Plaza system in Gen 7 that is widely perceived to not work well and be too convoluted to use. Yes, the Festival Plaza was a surprise, but it was a bad surprise, and one that probably took them way more work than just keeping and perhaps updating what fans already loved, which would have also allowed them more time to improve other aspects of the game. They had it right, and instead they took the time to create something entirely new and different that wasn't as good. And this appears to be a common theme in the main series. Now, I'm not saying that every single mechanic ever introduced should be kept in the games. Obviously, that would be way too much to ask of any game developer. But they should have a better prioritization system of what stays and what goes based on the fans' reception of each and how much of a core mechanic they are. Things like the type of bikes there are in the game, sure, that can be something that's put in rotation every now and then in the series to mix things up a bit. But more core features like the day-night system, seasons, the PSS multiplayer interface, a hard or challenge mode option, a thorough post-game battling facility like the Battle Frontier, the National Dex, etc. These are all things that fans perceive to be as core elements of a good Pokemon game. And putting them in rotation or removing them entirely is only going to take away from the evolution that the Pokemon main series has undergone in order to bring them in the first place. In a sense, the trajectory of the main series has been about this push and pull of new and old features. But what's the point of this if there isn't some sort of streamlining or survival of the fittest scenario based on the fan responses to each over time? I hate to say it, but this seems to be yet another instance of GameFreak just not taking into account the fan reception of the games. Time and time again, while doing research for these videos, I see the same theme popping up, and it's frustrating to me because it could fix so many things that aren't going so well in the franchise. When it comes to previously used features, you can retain these core elements and still achieve what Omori has said about surprising fans, by updating those features incrementally, but not just straight up removing them. With Mega Evolutions, for instance, it's a fan favorite feature and you can still make things surprising as you've said your goal is. Just introduce new Mega Evolutions to help underrated Pokemon get more of a spotlight. That way you're keeping the core feature but just updating it to achieve the goal of surprising players with new styles of gameplay. One of the most hyped pre-release seasons I can remember is the lead-ups to X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Seeing them incrementally announce new Mega Evolutions for Pokemon in distinct trailers was amazing. We were all talking about what Pokemon would get one, which ones should get them. It was excitement. Pure fun and excitement. Instead, now we've got some sort of twisted anti-hype season where we're counting down to which Pokemon are going to be removed from the games. And of course, with all Mega Evolutions having been confirmed removed entirely. And I don't want to delve too far into conspiracy land, but at this point it almost seems like these features are routinely included and excluded in the games in order to keep us, the fans, guessing and gambling by buying the games to see which features are in and which are out, in the hopes that our favorites make it in because the solution is so incredibly simple and yet they're not pursuing it. We're yet again going through this push and pull of one step forward, two steps back that make it hard to be excited for anything at this point. Yes, we're seeing new features like Gigantamax, but it's hard to be excited for them knowing that they were added into the game at the expense of many Pokemon themselves and features we've grown to love, since they instead spent the time on these new features. Anyway, there it is everyone, the reason why GameFreak consistently removes good features from subsequent iterations of the main series Pokemon games, mainly to surprise fans and have them regularly enjoy new styles of gameplay. I just don't think their mindset aligns with the fans' desires, especially when it comes to what we've seen they've done with Sword and Shield so far. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on so you're the first to see new videos and so you don't miss future uploads. Make sure to let me know what you think about the interview, what Omori said, and what features you would like to see return most. Before we go, I do want to give a quick plug to my Twitter page where I talk more about my thoughts and keep you guys updated on video progress, and my Discord server where we've got an awesome Pokemon community that loves to chat all about these topics. If you're interested in joining along with either one, the links will be in the description below, so make sure to check them out. Anyway, thanks so much for watching everyone, this has been SILPH, and I'll see you guys next time for some more Pokemon content.